Here we go. I'm Dave Johnson. It's hard to sleep this week, right? It's Dallas week. And after all, why do we call it Dallas week? It's our team, right? The Washington football team. But anyway, it's Dallas week. We got the full boat. Cichon he does that wonderful show every week on Monumental Network. Chris, get the plug in real quick.
Monumental Sports Network, by the book. Meg McDonald and I bringing you the latest when it comes to sports betting from 5 to 7. Sports betting coming to Maryland on Friday, so that's exciting.
All right, that wasn't as quick a plug as I wanted, but that was well done there, Chris. George Wallace is at Washington football team's headquarters. Dave Preston and, of course, Rob Woodfork. And here we go. It is Dallas week, and let's just get the conversation going. We'll start with you, George. You're at the epicenter. We have the news about Montez Sweat on the COVID-19 list. Logan Thomas, injured reserve. Not to be cold about it, but let's face it, Montez Sweat had already been out for this team, and it was great to have Logan Thomas back. It's unfortunate for both players. Will not be about Dallas week. What should we know as you're at the headquarters?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Montez Sweat's return is going to be delayed, no doubt about that. Losing Thomas is a big one, guys, because, look, you've been out since early October. He came back, caught touchdown passes back-to-back weeks, the one-handed grab last week. Yeah, they started to win without him, but that was a big jolt to this offense to have him back. So I think that one's going to hurt. I really do. Curtis Samuel back for a second straight week, and he's practicing again today from what we saw. J.D. McKissick was out there. He missed last week with the concussion, working on the side field, though, along with Landon Collins. Nice to get him back this week if they can, because this Cowboys offense is coming. I mean, they got a full, complement of wideouts. So this secondary, I think, is going to be tested this week. Look, this team's just playing with a lot of confidence. Jonathan Allen has said it multiple times that the practices weren't translating into games, and now they are. And you're starting to see them, what the result of a good week of practice has done. And credit to these guys for sticking with it. I mean, losing 4 straight, being totally irrelevant, as we talked about, easily could have packed it up and gone the other way, but they haven't. They've stuck by their head coach and Taylor Heineke, and they've believed in themselves. They're playing with a lot of confidence right now, thinking that anytime that they can get it done at any time. And, the big thing we've seen is this team able to sustain drives, convert on third down, 10-minute drive, 9-minute drive, something we've never seen. We hadn't seen this team doing quite some time, especially now in the beginning of the year when they needed to sustain a drive to win a game. They couldn't do it. But now you're seeing it. And I think that is a big thing, keeping the defense fresh, offense on the field, putting points on the board, and it's all equal to winning formula right now. And you've gotten yourself to where you wanted to be. December, 5 straight division games with everything still up for grabs. So that's all you could ask for right now.
Again, the takeaway point is that, as I said before, you just didn't flick a switch here. The result of this 4-game winning streak is because they were obviously going through the proper practice habits and preparation since the start of this season. And as Jonathan Allen said, now it's clicking. Now they're seeing the rewards for all that hard work. And what underscores that is they're seeing the rewards for all the hard work with different players in the lineup. That is, I think, also with something Ron Rivera said, that the way they prepare, everybody can fit in. And that is certainly bearing out as they're doing this, as we mentioned, without Montez Sweat, Chase Young. The offensive line has to introduce himself each week to each other. And now we're even having to introduce ourselves to the kicker. Rob, continue this conversation. Where's your mindset right now?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say if Washington wins this game on Sunday, they're going to win the NFC East. Because if you look at the stretch run here for both teams, Washington, every single game from here on out is winnable. They're all, obviously, we've been talking about it all season, the 5 straight division games. They can beat any, the NFC East, it's any given Sunday in the NFL, just point blank, but especially when you talk about division games. So those can go either way. So I could see Washington losing out. I could see Washington winning out, but I kind of go closer to the side of them winning out. And if they're going to win the division, they have to win this game, because if you get down 3 games and then you have 0 margin for error, Dallas has a tough game against Arizona left on their schedule, and I'm going to go ahead and say they're not going to win that game. So really, you've got an opportunity here, especially if you can complete the sweep of the Cowboys. But on Sunday, look, Taylor Heineke is one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league right now. I gave him his flowers before. I wrote a column on WTOP.com this week about how this team is very Gibbsian right now because they have a bunch of no-name guys who are out there just, playing together and winning games. So Dallas, yes, is the more talented team. Yes, Dallas has the better record and they're playing from ahead, but Washington kind of has that that it factor right now. And if they're able to continue to get in the end zone, finishing drives, stopping the opponent, and quietly, this Dallas defense is really beatable. They have really been just kind of existing based on, or at least playing well because their defense takes the ball away at a pretty high rate. So if you can take care of the football, if you can finish drives, Dallas is a very beatable team.
And you make a great point in your column at WTOP, because I'm old enough to vividly remember covering the Super Bowl that Mark Rippon won. And this was in the time, kids, pay attention, Google didn't exist and YouTube didn't exist. So when he was first signed, was it Mark Rippon or was it Mark Rippian? We didn't even know how to say his name because you couldn't Google it. You couldn't find a YouTube highlight. And I agree with you. Washington will continue to have success if they continue the romance with the 3-yard run. That's how Taylor Heinicke has become the hottest quarterback in the NFL. It is 70. When Ron Rivera said that, a 77% completion over this 4-game winning streak. I had to fact check that, and he's dead on. It's because of the ground game. Let's keep it going. It's Dallas week. Dave Preston, you already have your Christmas trees up, for goodness sakes. Now you
it's partially up. It's not all up. So gee, tell your friend Pensty that I still have to trim the tree a little bit.
Right.
Quick question for Rob. You said you could see Washington winning all 5. You said that you could see them losing all 5. Do you see a 2-1-2 finish?
No.
Okay.
Ties are your thing. I think ties are the devil. You like them.
And also, Dave, this is the only game with time zones involved. Dallas is an hour behind us. So that's
I think
that's
so. Well, hey, there's a saying, confidence in the wrong hands can be a dangerous team. This 2-6 team all of a sudden has the moxie of a contender. And you look at around the league where teams have these mid-season winning streaks. I look at a Miami team that all of a sudden has won 5 straight to go from 1-7 and think about where they're going to draft to 6-7 on the cusp of the wild card in the AFC. Teams have a way of catching the right opponents at the right time. They caught Tampa when maybe the Buccaneers were a little bit more rusty than rested. They were missing some players, but you know what? That doesn't matter. You're confident that now you can beat the defending Super Bowl champs. You beat Carolina, you beat Seattle, then you go in and you beat Las Vegas. There's a certain amount of mojo working with this team. It's the running game, and you look, I think it's human nature where if the offensive linemen, if they're able to, think together and work together well, it's much more better for their mindset than to attack, than to be passive and be in pass protection the entire time. Washington's dominated the time of possession the last 4 weeks. They've been able to get the ball, effectively moving the ball, moving the chains. My biggest surprise this past week was they were able to play well. They were able to play so well offensively without J.D. McKissick and able to play so well defensively without Landon Collins, who'd been a spark plug for them. Concerned about Dallas. They're number 2 in the league at getting off the field on third downs. That Washington needs to be able to sustain drives. I think with the running game, they'll be able to do so because Dallas is not that good of a run defense. They're kind of middle of a pack right now.
Cichon, you look like you're getting ready to be drafted by the NFL. You're waiting for the phone call. We can tell you're revved up. You coach guys in football. You're going to bring the sense and stability and knowledge to this conversation. Your thoughts, and I can tell you're ready to bring it.
Absolutely. I could not agree more with you guys speaking about the run game, establishing that physical nature to this offense. And it's allowed Taylor Heinicke to be able to throw. Now, a lot of us are enamored with Heinicke's play and what he's done for this team as of late, no doubt. But he almost gave the game away against the Raiders, a couple of late almost INTs. I really do like Washington to keep it rolling, though, against the Dallas team. Yes, they've got the top offense in the National Football League, but the Washington defense coming together, it's almost like, Dave, and you call basketball for the Wizards. Sometimes I'm not saying this is addition by subtraction, but guys have realized, hey, this is a unit defensively. We're 11 players. We're bigger than just one man, Chase Young or Montez Sweat. And listen, Del Rio, it's almost like Steve Spagnuolo in Kansas City. He's made adjustments in season to really have this defense stepping up. 15 points they've allowed the past 2 games. And Tampa Bay, who puts up points in bunches, only scored 19 a couple of weeks ago. So this really balanced attack here. J.D. McKissick key to this offense. Hopefully he'll be back here soon to help them out in that aspect. But I mean, and then Terry McLaurin too. This guy will go over the middle and catch the football. Really impressive stuff. And how about John Bates? One last one. Has to step up for Logan Thomas, has done so really well. So guys are playing well, no doubt.
Wow.
And to your point, to your point, Chi, about the defense, you know, these guys said last week, Bobby McCain told us, he said, you know, it's not that they're learning now. Look, you're learning to play without Montez and Chase Young. Now the secondary, it's not that they didn't trust each other before, but now they've learned to play together. It took adjustment time. They're all new back there, and they've bought into the system. It's not that they didn't before, and he was very clear about his words and careful. But he said they trust each other now and they believe. So once you get that, and you know where your teammate's going to be on certain plays, things like that. I mean, I could see that took time to get to, and you know, you're seeing that now with the back-to-back weeks of only 15 points and getting off the field on third down, things like that. So you're to your point about Jack Del Rio, you got to give him credit and give these players credit also for sticking with it and starting to believe now and trusting each other.
And you were talking about the almost interceptions by Taylor Heineke. Hearing players talk, they love him. And the beauty of it is he just keeps going forward and he shakes it off and he still has them believing and he's still confident. So instead of when he makes a mistake, I think Washington fans aren't saying now, uh-oh, here it goes, he's going to collapse. He had his worst quarterback rating right before this 4-game winning streak. So clearly he knows how to move on.
And also,
right, George,
he needs to be a lot less like a roller coaster ride, though. So, because he was playing there for a spell, then he throws the interception, and then the near interception. We would be having a very different conversation if Moehrig makes that catch and runs it back for a touchdown. So, obviously, football, a game of inches, like the cliche goes, but, Heineke still has another notch to kind of step his game up.
No, but that was my point, though. He doesn't fold. He then tries to learn from it. But yeah, it would be nice to be less of a roller coaster.
They did ultimately go and finish that drive and get points. So that's at the end of the day what's important.
George, you're ready to look like you're ready for the sideline. So now, as we wrap up our Cowboys Washington conversation, reason to be encouraged, discouraged, your thoughts, who's going to win?
Hey, it's cold out here, okay? We're staying on the practice. Look, Ron Rivera practicing in the elements, okay? We got to be ready. I definitely encouraged. Look, the way they've done, the way they bounced back, like we talked about, playing with a lot of confidence. I worry though that it's going to be a time, those interceptions that Heineke throws, the ones in the end zone or the one like last week against a team like Dallas. I just worry about if he does make that kind of mistake, being able to overcome it. Look, Dallas is what it is, and they've lost a couple here and there, but they are still, a dangerous team. They're still in first place for a reason. And, I just worry that eventually one of those mistakes they're not going to be able to overcome one of those mistakes. Look, if you get Landon Collins back this week and J.D. McKissick, I think that is huge for this offense and for this defense. I think it's going to be close Sunday, but I think I'm giving the edge to Dallas just because I think it's, I still think they're a better team right now. And you just worry that Heineke's been living on the edge a little bit here. And if he makes that mistake, you're not able to overcome. I think Dallas wins a close one on Sunday.
Oh, and we're living on the edge, period, at 6-6. Dave Preston?
Right.
I think it's going to be another close one. I think Dallas is going to be able to get things done offensively. They lead the league in passing yardage. And I think that this is where the Washington defense takes a step back. They've played over their heads the last couple of weeks, 15 points against the Raiders, 15 points to albeit undermanned Seattle team. But Washington is still, the worst in the league at getting off the field on third down, third to worst at defending the pass. I think that Dallas is able to exploit those weaknesses this time. And for some reason, I just don't think that things are going to click at the roulette table for Mr. Heineke.
All right, and I'll dovetail off that and say, I believe Washington wins, but if, in the capitals letters, IF, if they are able to run the ball and win the time of possession and keep Dallas offense off the field, at least a good portion of the game. That's how I think they do win. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Rob?
And as the guy that everybody accuses of being too negative about Washington, I'm actually going to pick the Burgundy and Gold to win this week because you look at the matchup here. Look, guys, Dallas gives up 111 rushing yards per game. Washington's been averaging 140 over the course of this win streak. So I think Washington runs the ball. They dominate the clock. And I mean, to your point, I mean, turnovers is going to be key. If they win the turnover battle, I think they win this game by at least a touchdown. I'm going to take Washington like 21-17 or something to that effect. But yeah, a close game, but I think Washington is playing together more than Dallas is over the course of the last month.
Yeah, no, and if they're going to win, it's going to have to be a score like that, 21-17,
Right,
not
right.
a wild.
Yeah, 33-30 ain't going to be a thing.
No, all right. The big G, drum roll, please.
Well, I've got to put my betting hat here on, Dave, and say that Dallas does not cover the 4 points, but Washington ends up losing this one. It's going to be a very close game. I see something like 21-20, Dallas winning it. I like Washington and really what they're doing as of late here. I just think, is their secondary good enough to contain the likes of CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, if he's feeling okay? He was kind of, under the weather in their last game, but he still makes big catches there. And the run game with Dallas, I'm not going to say Ezekiel Elliott. It's more Tony Pollard. This guy, when he gets through the hole and can explode, can really break one through. So I think it's going to be a great game. I really like the under 48 and Washington to cover, but not win.
48 is high. That's a high number.
Well, that's why. Yeah, that is a high number for the over. Yeah, well,
it's an easy.
There is the prince of parlays, Christian. All right, the audible at the line of scrimmage. George, what's whatever topic ever? It's all. We'll start the floor with you or the car.
All right, let's just touch on the baseball situation a little bit. I know a lot of people complaining and worried about the lockout right now and this and that, but I'm going to actually have a positive outlook on this because baseball, I think both sides realize that. Look, it's like doing your homework, right, in school. Why are we getting a deal done now? We don't have to get it done until right before spring training, right? Why do your homework before when it's not due to the day before? So, or due until February. So I think they are going to get a deal done. But look, if let's say, for instance, they don't, and the season is shortened, baseball is going to lose a lot of people this time around, guys. I think, look, 94, you had the strike, but then you had the steroid era and the long ball after that. You had Cal Ripken after that. You lost fans already with COVID, even though fans were allowed back last year. The places weren't full. If they don't get something done and shorten the season this year, I think you're going to see a lot of fans not come back. That's why I think that these guys actually out for a change, and maybe they're going to be on the same page and get something done before spring training. Because if not, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and I know this is oversimplifying, and maybe it can't be done. But we are still in a pandemic, guys. I'd be saying to baseball, whatever deal, just extend it for another year. Get through this, because talk about being tone deaf. When you just have teams spend $2 billion on players before this whole thing shut down, there's a lot of people in businesses that haven't recovered yet. So people can't even fathom what they're arguing about. Dave Preston?
An era ends in College Park. Men's college basketball coach Mark Turgeon stepped away from the program this past Friday. 10-plus seasons at the helm. But he led them to just one Sweet 16 in his tenure. Now, granted, the last 7 years under Gary Williams, they did not reach the Sweet 16. I think they won one NCAA tournament game, actually, I think they won 2 tournament games. They did not get to Saturday in the ACC tournament. Maryland is a job that it's not a blue blood, but there are very high expectations thanks to Lefty Driesell and Gary Williams and what those 2 Hall of Famers did in that building, Cole Fieldhouse, and by extension, Xfinity Center. Whoever gets this new job, there will be high expectations. That means once every 4 years, you are to get to Saturday in the Big Ten tournament, meaning the semifinals. You are to at least be in the mix for a Big Ten regular season championship. Maybe not win, but at least be in the mix. And you are to get to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament at least once every 4 years. Those are the standards. That is what whomever gets this job is going to have to answer to.
By the way, shout out to James Madison for that whatever Virginia the other night. Chris, or last night maybe. Chris, what's your audible?
I'm heading up to Baltimore, or really, I should say Cleveland. That's where the Ravens are going to be taking on the Browns this weekend. Browns coming off a bye here. It is gut check time for this Ravens team. I went to the Browns-Ravens game, Sunday Night Football in M&T Bank Stadium a couple of weeks ago, and that may be or end up being the highlight of this Ravens season. They are now decimated with injuries. Marlon Humphrey, along with Marcus Peters to start the season. I mean, they're relying on Tavon Young, the Oxon Hill product, who went to Potomac High School. Hopefully he steps up here. Jimmy Smith, a veteran there. Averett from Alabama. But I just don't know that it's going to be enough. They've got some young linebackers here, but, you know, and I hate to use the narrative must win, but to me, Lamar needs to really take over here. This has not been his best stretch of games here. Hopefully Greg Roman and this Ravens team kind of figure out that they need a good run pass mix and get their offense supercharged here against, I mean, listen, you'll hear it in the FanDuel spots this week on WTOP. Lamar is better than Baker Mayfield. So the game is for the taking. You got to go win it out in Cleveland.
All right, there we go. Boy, we got more. We're going to have to bill you for this stuff. All right, Rob, bring us home as we finish the line of scrimmage.
I mean, I've already given you guys the golden nugget here. I got Washington winning the NFC East. I think they win. They beat the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. I think they sweep the season series. I think in addition to those 2 losses for Dallas, they're going to lose to Arizona. Washington will probably trip up in one of the Philly games. But I think they end up tied, and Washington gets the tiebreaker by virtue of the sweep.
All right, and I'll close quickly on the Wizards. It's December. If All-Star break, this roster is still 27th in the NBA in three-point shooting, and Bradley Beal is still shooting 25% beyond the arc, then it's a big problem. But until then, welcome to the NBA. 14 and 11, 14, whatever, is you get to the All-Star break, and then you better kick in, because nobody ever won a title at the All-Star break. I can think of Michael Jordan's first year playing with the Wizards way back when, and the Wizards were on top of the world at the All-Star break and didn't make the playoffs. So the point is, I never thought I'd say this, but it's the Wizards offense that has to get into sync now, and not so much the defense, but they still have to play defense. Who is chopping at the bit?
No, I'll just add this to your point about the Wizards. I would always, when I would take my daughter to Wizards games, she would always get discouraged like early on when the other team was up by like 5. And I'm like, Jasmine, look, everybody makes a run in the NBA. So whatever you're seeing now is not going to be the case in the second quarter or the third quarter or the fourth quarter. And I think that's also true of a season-long grind, is you're going to have 10-game windows where, you know, you can't buy a 3-pointer, which is what the Wizards are going through now, but they'll probably have a hot streak, like you said, right around the All-Star break or somewhere there. So yeah, I'm not super worried about this team, but at the same time, like, you guys got to start making shots.
No, yeah, and look, we're looking at this game in 10 games, season 10 game segments. First 10 games 7-3,
Mm-hmm.
Second 10 game segment 6-4. No shame in that. They're now in the third 10 game segment. They got to get busy here over the next week or so, and now with a favorable schedule. All right.
To chime in, I hate to interject at the line. I'm probably encroaching, Dave, but if somebody had said at the beginning of the season, people would be bummed when the Wizards were 14 and 11. Hey, I'd take that.
No,
we didn't think this team, it's a credit to Wes Unseld Jr. that this team is playing this well this early in his tenure.
Right. And it's all my fault. The audible line of scrimmage has gone too long. So somebody throw a flag at me. For George Wallace, Dave Preston, Cichon, who's going to get drafted in the first round always, and Rob Woodfork. That's a DC Sports Huddle. We'll see you next week and see who's right about Dallas week.
Break.